I was going to try and do something light today, but I have a particular story that this is not really heavy. It's actually kind of funny, but I figured out the only way I'm going to get past it is just to go ahead and tell it. But to start off, to start things on a good note, first of all, I had a good weekend, and despite how hot it's been here lately, business-wise, I did quite well this last weekend, so that's the best weekend I've had in at least a month, so that was nice. And then also, channel-related, sometime last week I hit 600 subscribers, so the channel has topped the 600 subscriber mark, so thank you for that, and welcome to the new subscribers. If you are new to the channel, this is just kind of a weekly vlog that I do. And I have this story that I'm going to try and tell and keep it somewhat. I've actually tried a couple of times already, and it ends up being way too long. And I don't want this, I'm not trying to make this like a woe is me, I have to deal with so many horrible people in my life. I have really good friends too. But sometimes you end up having to deal with people that you think are your friends and are really not. And so with all that in mind, I would like to tell you about the end story of a guy that I'm going to call Larry. A good number of years, we just kind of coexisted. I didn't think much of the guy. I thought he was kind of a douchebag. Don't know what he thought of me. Don't care. We just kind of coexisted. We would see each other. Didn't even really speak. It wasn't even so much as a, hey, how you doing? Nothing. Well, then one day he called me out of the blue. We ended up working at the same place on the same shift. And he called me out of the blue one day, said he was getting some work done in his car, asked if he could ride back and forth to work with me for about a week. That turned into 3 weeks. We ended up going to ball games and stuff like that a couple of times, and I came to the conclusion but he was still a douchebag. But I'd go to a ball game with him every now and then. He wasn't that bad. And while I was coming to that conclusion, he was apparently deciding that me and him were best buddies, and we needed to spend every freaking waking moment of the day together. And it got to the point where it was almost more like having a clingy girlfriend. If you're married or have a significant other, and while you're both at work or you're separated during the day, think about how many times you text or call each other. Maybe 3 times, 4, 5, something like that. I sat there, I had the phone I had at the time, you could set it where text messages would automatically delete after 7 days, and that worked fine until Larry entered the picture. After 3 days, I had 2 messages from one friend of mine, 3 messages from a different kind of friend, and I had 47 text messages from Larry in 3 days. 47. It's going to be kind of hard to tell this story, well, leaving certain things out, but I have to because it's going to end up being too long if I don't. Well, he was pretty insistent on, if he decided he wanted to go somewhere on the weekend, which was almost every weekend, he would just keep on me about going somewhere. If it was just, I don't really want to go, I'm going to save some money, I got some stuff I need to do around the house, something like that. He would just move every sporting event in a 100-mile radius. He would run through them all, trying to get me to agree to go somewhere. If he ran through all of them, he'd start on the next week. He just would not quit. I finally decided, after a while, to try a different way of going about it. And when he would bring something up, I'd say, hey, I got to do some stuff around the house. And I really did. It wasn't just an excuse. I had to do some stuff. I had some stuff that I had been putting off around the house. Of course, I had other things going on in my life that I needed to take care of. I said, no, I'm not going to go anywhere this weekend. I got to take care of all this. And then all of those follow-up texts me, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? I just ignored them. I wouldn't respond at all. I wouldn't even give him the opportunity to push me to go somewhere else. Well, this went all week. By Thursday, there's a minor league team called the Grand Prairie Air Hogs. He had brought them up, and of course I'm a big baseball fan. He thought that was going to be my weak point. On Thursday, he said, "Did the Air Hogs game interest you at all?" And I said, "No, not really." I went ahead and responded and said, "No, not really." As I told you, I've got some stuff I need to do Saturday. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not planning on going anywhere. If I get everything done on Saturday, maybe Saturday evening, maybe I'll go out somewhere. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go anywhere at all. Well, apparently that finally got through to him. Well, when I finally did this and it got through, okay, I guess he's really not going to commit to going anywhere this weekend. We got to see the real Larry. Friday morning, I wake up to somebody pounding on my front door. Bam, bam, ringing the doorbell. Bam, 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 ring, 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 bam, 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 ring, 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 ring. Just frantic. Like the world was on fire and I was the only place that had water. I open the front door. I already know who it is before I even open the door. I open the front door. He comes right with it. Just barrels right on into the house. And I said, well, that's a good way to get punched in the face, dude. He comes in and he piles his fat ass on my couch and starts telling me his financial situation is a story in itself, but he had loans out at a bunch of different places. And it was just money he would take and blow. He'd go to ball games. He'd go to God knows where. He said one of these loan places, he wrote him a check, asked him to hold it for a week. Well, they went ahead and sent it through, and his story was, I don't know if this is true or not, his story was that it overdrew his checking account, so he was going to get fees on that. He had other checks out. He had no money for gas and no money for food and this, that, and the other, and asked if he could borrow $200. But he's got tears welling up in his eyes, and he's talking about how he needs to get his life together and get straightened out and start handling his money better and this, that, and the other. So I'm like, well, if he's serious about doing this, I'm going to see if I can help him out. So I moved some things around, actually put some stuff off, lend him the $200. Okay, that was Friday. Saturday, I woke up feeling suspicious, sitting there thinking, boy, he better have been telling the truth. Well, I did what I had to do during the day, and part of it was work-related. I was still doing the sports writing at the time. Well, I got all my stuff done, and I decided that there was the racetrack. If you go back to the early videos on this channel, they're of racing. It was at that racetrack. I thought I can go there tonight, and I can get an article out of that. And there was a particular gentleman's club, or topless bar, whatever you want to call them. That now I was not opposed to going to those kind of places, but there was one in particular that was kind of on the edge of the seedy part of Wichita Falls, and there was some stuff that went on there that I just didn't really want to be around it. If he goes somewhere and is not thinking about being worried about me showing up, that's probably where he would go. So on my way to the racetrack, I decided to take a different route. I was going to drive by the place. And lo and behold, there's his car right up front. Yep, he's at the topless bar. Just a little more than 24 hours after sitting on my couch talking about how financially strained he is and on the verge of bursting into tears, he's sitting at the topless bar. I messaged him again. Didn't give any indication that I was in town or that I was anywhere but home. I wanted to see if he would tell me where he was without me asking. We went back and forth for a little bit. I was listening to the Rangers game on the radio. The Rangers won, and I had this thing I would do. I'd say woot if something good happened. And so I sent him a woot, W-O-O-T. I sent him a woot, and he said, what are you wooting about? And I said, well, the Rangers won. I kind of figured you were watching the game. And he says, no, I'm with my mom and my sister. They wanted to go to Wichita Falls and go shopping. We're at Walmart right now. I was like, well, there it is. He just flat out lied about where he was. I ended up going into the place. But it was a bar, so the first thing I did was get a beer. I was sitting there waiting on my change, and one of those dancers grabbed a hold of me, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to be here long. I got to take care of a thing with that guy over there. And she said, who? I pointed at him, said, "That guy right there." And I pointed at it. He just happened to turn and look right at me as I'm sitting there pointing my finger at him. Well, he ends up coming over there. I'm still waiting on my change. I was going to go to him, but I was waiting on my change, and she was being kind of slow about it. He sat there for a little bit, deer in the headlights. He'd look around, he'd look back over at me, and he'd look around a little bit, and he'd look back over, and you could see the wheels turning in that big old head of his. And he finally gets up and walks over there, and before I can even say a word, he says, "Yeah, Mom and my sister are still out there at Walmart. I was taking a little 20-minute break." And I said, "Dude, you're busted. You know, I saw your car. I drove by at 7 o'clock and saw your car in the parking lot. Known where you were the entire time. I don't appreciate one bit you coming in my house, sitting on my couch, and feeding me that line of BS about financial whatever. It's pretty obvious why you're here. It's pretty obvious where you got the money to be here." And he just nodded and said, "I'll have your money on Friday," which I did get my money back. And as soon as I got the last bit of money, that was it. Done with him. And for about the next year, I would get the occasional text message, a book from him at 6 o'clock in the morning. Kept making it clear I didn't want to have nothing to do with him. And it just kept going until I finally exploded on him. He came across me on Facebook and sent me a Facebook message that said the same crap that he said in the text messages. And I finally just unloaded on him. And told me exactly what I thought about him. And told him what other people thought about him. But in a way, I kind of gave him what he wanted, because then he could be the victim. Because how dare I say all these horrible things to him. And I just realized I don't really have a close for that story. It wasn't about friendship. It wasn't about anything. It was... I don't even know what the hell it was about. Well, anyway, that's my Larry story. Like I said, there's so much more to that story. It's ridiculous, but even as it is, I know this is going to be longer than I really wanted it to be. Well, I hope you enjoyed the ride. And as I say, I started off I'm talking about I just reached 600 subscribers. Also want to mention my friends Amy and Laney over there at What's Paranormal. They just finally reached their 2,000 mark. They've been fighting for it for a while. They finally got there. I saw that they went live Sunday, but like I say, weekends are work days for me, and I was just too tired. I couldn't. I was out. I did want to mention them, and congratulations to them. And for them, our outtake of the week lets you know just how full of pride they get, apparently, and sometimes they got to let it out. All right, well, thanks for riding along with me, and I'll see you next time.
That's Mom! That was Mom that time. No, that was her.
Another ghost fart, wasn't it?
That was her.